Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and his family accepting the vice presidential nomination of the Democratic Party, giving, to my untrained ear, a pretty perfect speech. The part where he said, I haven't given a lot of big speeches like this one in my life, but I've given a lot of pep talks. And the crowd erupted in coach, 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 coach. The final nominating speech for him tonight from one of the young men in his life who he has both taught and coached, and then being joined by the Mankato West football players who he brought to the state championship. This was a very USA kind of speech. The sight of his son Gus and his daughter Hope weeping as their dad took to the stage is really something. Jen.
I mean, I love Gus Walz. I'm going to start ugly crying right now talking about him, just watching his kids react to him. I know. but watching his kids react to him, I mean, as a mom, you know he's a good guy, you know, because if you can have kids who wear their hearts on their sleeves like that as adults, you know he's a good guy. But I was watching that thinking, what percentage of people in that room knew who he was 4 weeks ago?
Yes.
A tiny percentage of people. And now he is like everybody's coach, everybody's teacher, he's the neighbor. And it wasn't, to Lawrence's point earlier, a partisan speech. I mean, I loved that line. I also loved in the beginning when he said, growing up in a small town like that, you learn to take care of each other. The family down the road, they may not think like you do, they may not pray like you do, they may not love like you do, but they're your neighbors and you look out for them. And that is a harken back to Obama in 2004. It is also an incredibly powerful, joyful message to the public after years of being downtrodden by the world of Trump.
And explicitly saying, here's the part you clip and save and send to that undecided relative.
Yes.
And talking about being a veteran, talking about being a hunter, talking about being a gun owner. I was a better shot than most Republicans in Congress, and I have the trophies to prove it. But I'm also a dad, and I believe in the Second Amendment, while I believe in our first responsibility is to keep our kids safe.
It's how he embodies the American dream, right? For all the criticisms of our country and the complaints, this guy grew up squarely in the middle class in Nebraska, right? He lost his dad. He went on to serve in the military. He became a teacher and a coach. And tonight, he got on the stage at the DNC. Forget your politics. It does not matter what you believe politically. That boy from Nebraska got on stage, and he might be the next vice president of the United States. If that's not the best of the American dream, then nothing is.
Jacob Soboroff is in the room, and I believe was able to make some connections with some of the Walz folks who we just all saw on stage a moment ago.
That's right, Rachel. I'm here side stage. Let me just show you where I am. And we ended up just in this remarkable position. This is where Governor Walz just spoke. And right here in the backstage area, let me just swing around and show you where we are. This is where the family was all staging. And so just minutes before the entire Walz family walked out and sat in those seats right in the front of the stage here at the United Center, I had an opportunity to talk to some. These are faces that are so new and so fresh to American politics. Frankly, I don't even know what members of the family they were. But you saw two of the young women down in front wearing the white dresses. To me, my impression is just so remarkably normal after what we've been through over the course of the last 4 years. One of the young women in the Walz family said to me, they were watching MSNBC earlier today, and they saw us talking about Minnesota and the Minnesota delegation. One of them said to me, are we supposed to wave? I don't really know what we're supposed to do once we go up on stage. Are we supposed to hold our hands up like this? Or what do we do? We've all been talking about it amongst the family. And so that's just my reaction down here after spending some time with them as they waited to go out and see Governor Walz speak, is that they feel like they could be your neighbors, they could be your classmates, they could be folks that you work with in your office. Just remarkably normal.
Speaking of a deeply normal and also hard to believe moment, was the football players from Mankato West walking out onto the stage. We had word that there might be additional players from the team, or in addition to this one young man who we're going to hear from, there might be. I had no idea it was going to be like that. The room in here, in terms of our little crowd at MSNBC Mothership, everybody got out of their seats and started stamping and clapping and going, oh my God, I can't believe this. What was that like in the room, Jacob?
I cannot. I mean, I was probably 6 feet away from half of the football team on this side of the stage. The wattage of the smiles on their faces, it just screamed, I cannot believe I am standing on this stage right now in front of the entire American, not just forget about the people of the United Center, but in front of the United States of America as the state championship football team from this small town in Minnesota. It was like we're all living it with them down here, and it was a really incredible thing to experience.
Jacob, thank you very much. There is nothing more real, Chris Hayes, than still having your uniform shirt.
I love that moment.
Your jersey from when you won the state championship.
You get the call, you're like, yes.
Yes, I have.
Are you getting on a flight to Chicago with your jersey? I am getting on a flight to Chicago with my jersey.
Does it fit? I can't hear.
I don't care.
It doesn't matter. It
there.
always fits. It's my jersey.
It's
amazing.
Yeah, it's when you take a step back, there's something just so remarkable and shocking that it's like the Republicans are the ones with like the New York City real estate dealer at the top of the ticket,
and the venture capitalist,
and then the Democrats have like the Midwestern football coach and teacher who like had the state championship. Just like every sort of culture war trope inverted it on itself. And I just think, look, Walz has an incredible biography, I said at the beginning, but he is an incredibly effective communicator.
Yeah.
And he is a professional. He didn't just walk out of Mankato West yesterday. He is a political professional. He is a very deft political communicator. And that was a 10 out of 10 effective speech in a short period of time, established his bio, vouched for Kamala Harris, did a lot about his record substantively in policy, and laid out a very popular agenda for Kamala Harris, all while sort of hitting the other party and the other nominees. Short and sweet and compact and effective in his inimitable style. The guy is just a supremely effective communicator.
Yeah, and not a breath wasted.
You know, I did not have a guess as to who Kamala Harris would pick as vice president. I was sure she would make the right pick with all the information that they had, vetting and her own interaction with them. But imagine someone else being the VP pick, and that guy going up on the stage tonight for the 5 minutes they would have given him, 6 minutes they would have given him. You'd just be sitting there saying, what about him? But I can't think of a better launch of a vice presidential campaign that we've seen, especially with an unknown, someone who, as Chris says, was basically an unknown a very short time ago to many, including me, by the way. He was on my show a couple of times, but I couldn't remember it, and it was years ago. But, you know, in the very beginning of his speech, he was talking about his life. And in his life, this became a very important sentence in his life. He said, "Thank God for Social Security survivor benefits." No one on the Republican ticket knows what Social Security survivor benefits are, and when they kick in, who gets them, and what they mean in a life that desperately needs Social Security survivor benefits. And this speech goes throughout, making very simple connections, and that word neighbor just keeps coming up. He makes this about neighbors. He doesn't even talk about voters. He talks about neighbors and connecting with neighbors. And that golden rule, mind your own damn business, he delivers with a freshness every time that is so effective and powerful. It's just such a powerful theme about what this campaign is about.
Let's go to Chicago, where our beloved colleagues, Alex and Joy, are watching alongside all of us and alongside all the thousands of delegates. Vibes check, ladies. Vibes check. Is this thing on?
I think we just saw an episode of Ted Lasso, basically. If you watch that show, that's basically what this just was, right? I mean, I could see how he won football games. I could see being, the kids on that football team got a speech like that. No wonder they went from 0 wins to winning a championship. That man is really talented. And what's so cool about it, think about this. If you moved into a neighborhood and you moved onto a block where you had a really cool lady on one end of the street, Oprah, right? The really rich lady with the big house. But you also had the really cool musical family, John Legend. And then you also had the really sort of nerdy, guy with a McKinsey job and a cool husband and kid, Buttigieg. And then you've got the football coach and your favorite social studies teacher, the guy who coaches the football team, but who also gives you advice at Home Depot for like a half an hour when you're like, Roto-Rooter or whatever and your house is broken. This is a neighborhood that anyone would want to live in. And that is what I have felt in this space, especially today. The Democrats have constructed the neighborhood that anybody would want to buy a house in and move their family to. Tim Walz capped it this time. Brilliant. Well done.
The reality is that this man is the governor of Minnesota, right? And the signs, I'm sure all of you in New York have seen, say Coach Walz. They don't say Governor Walz, they don't say Congressman Walz, they say Coach Walz. And that is a very deliberate choice, right? I think what we have seen, if there is a theme that has run through some of the most prominent speakers at this convention, from Barack Obama to Bill Clinton to Tim Walz tonight, it is the theme of outreach and empathy and national reconciliation. Obama yesterday was saying, don't demean your neighbors. If a parent or a grandparent occasionally says something that makes us cringe, we don't automatically assume they're bad people. Clinton tonight says, talk to your neighbors. Meet people where they are. Don't demean them. The football thing, the coach thing, that is a form of conservative outreach. The reliance on the football metaphor is a way of opening up the Democratic tent to skeptics, to people who feel culturally like they've been divorced from the Democratic Party for a long time, and say, come on in. The water's fine. You will see yourself reflected in this party. The guy we're putting at the second highest position on the ticket is a football coach. That's why those signs tonight said Coach Walz and not Governor Walz.
I need to go to the Minnesota delegation right now because I think that Jacob Soboroff is about to be crowd surfing or something. You okay? You okay?
Rachel, I can't hear a damn thing, but I'll save one of these for you.
Thank you.
They're handing out Tim Walz heads. Guys, how are you feeling right now?
Fabulous!
How you doing? How you feeling?
Excited about our new leadership. Excited about what democracy for America. Excited about it.
Like I said, I cannot hear a damn thing that anybody's saying, but everybody is very, very excited in the Minnesota delegation.